Hey folks, it's November, which means it's closer to Turkey Day, and you're watching us, who you listen to often, and if you don't, you should, on High School Sports Talk, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. He's the coach, Ed Young. I'm the other talking head, and the other guy, Matt Hatfield. 10 a.m. to noon, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. It's High School Sports Talk Plus. How was your Halloween?
When was Halloween?
That was a few days ago.
I didn't even know it came.
No candy?
No candy.
Did your house get egged?
I wasn't even home.
Paper roll? Oh, they probably put toilet paper all over his house.
No.
Folks.
We don't really celebrate in our neighborhood. I saw to that.
He lives in Suffolk, Virginia. His address is, I'll whisper it to you later when he's not here. Anyhow.
I live on the house on the left.
On the left, not the right. All right, good to know. Let's talk about some high school football action, Ed, because the playoffs are coming up next week. We have the region playoff pairings for 6A and Region 4A. We're still kind of sorting things out for 5A as well as 3A and 2A and 1A. But some early impressions involving the 7-5-7 teams. Then we'll branch it out to the state. We talked about the state a little bit last week on the video show too. My biggest thing, we talked about this a little bit on the radio show, is that I'm not crazy about the inconsistencies in how this format is configured, in that teams that, like, take Bruton, for example, because they didn't have a full season. It's affected the Big Rivers teams with their schedule. It's 9 games as opposed to 10. They can take a forfeit or they can cancel. It should be universal across the board. And I don't like that, because if you're stuck, you have to play a district schedule. Certain teams at lower divisions, especially the Class 3 and 2 levels, when they're in battle or jockeying for a spot with teams that are in a district that plays a lot of upper division schools, that's a benefit to those schools that have teams in their district from larger classifications. What can we do to rectify this system, if anything?
Well, you heard from Danny Dotson, the head football coach of Woodside, earlier on the show. If you listen to the show, Saturday mornings, 10 to 12.
Just catch the replay later if you didn't on VirginiaPreps.com.
There you go. He kind of likes the situation we're in now. It's a point system. It's the fairest for right now. Is it the best? Not necessarily, but it's the fairest for right now. You are awarded points on a win. You get X amount of points on a loss. It depends on who you're playing. Are they a 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, whatever. And then you get X amount, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, you're getting X amount of points for who they beat.
2 points for bonus for their wins, 1 point bonus if you lost to them.
That's put in there so that if you're playing teams that who are very successful or winning, then you get those points. Now, correct me on this one, that's at the time you beat them or play them, correct?
No. It's for what happens the whole year.
The whole year. Yeah. So it does take care of teams that are winning, and you're not going to get as many points against teams that are losing. So if you try to, in football, you play a district schedule. You only really have room for one game. So you would think people would try to schedule maybe the weakest team they can find. I got to get an easy win so I get points. Well, if you schedule a very weak team that doesn't win any games or wins one game, you don't get extra points for playing them. So the point system has merit to it. Is it the best situation? That we don't know, because the point system does allow, especially in 6A, a lot of repeat matchups, which seems like a lot of fans don't like, especially the beach teams. They might have just played each other last regular season game, and bam, they're going to play the next week, following week, playoffs against each other again. We want to see those matchups maybe later, if at all.
Well, here's where it varies, and I'll correct you one thing. Your district, the Southeastern District, where you coach in and teach in the Peninsula, they have one out-of-district game. The Beach has none, with the exception of Cox this year playing Granby and Princess Anne playing Maury. The Eastern District has 3 out-of-district games, so that can be a plus or a minus. And this affected Lake Taylor with Lafayette, and that's not the reason I'm discussing this, although Lake Taylor is the only team to beat potentially 3 9-1 teams this year in the state, in the likes of Freedom, Phoebus, and Maury. But I just would like to see this, my issue, so if you're wanting points, you said you go play somebody that you can beat. Well, if you're a 5 or a 6, go play a Riverheads. You say, why play a Riverheads? They're Class 1, they're a heavyweight contender. Well, they don't have the depth you do. If you beat them, you get, potentially, they're going to go 9-1. You get 18 bonus points because they won, and you don't get penalized for playing down. You still get, if you're a Class 6, those 26 points for a win. So they've now changed that system, whereas in the past, you would get only 16 for beating a Class 1.
Right.
That's my issue. It encourages the higher divisions to go play a good team regardless of your division to get points. But if you're a lower school, why are you going to play that team?
Right. Yeah, you're defeating yourself before you can get on the fields.
It's flawed. It's very flawed.
It is flawed, but I guess that statement will be made by the state. Well, until you come up with something better, what is there?
I have something better, but they don't want to hear it. So we don't have enough time on this video show to probably go out through. Well, we probably do, but we're going to go to what matters, because other than that, it's just conjecture and talk,
Just conjecture, and
bluster,
we ain't gonna get it
and
settled
me
today.
babbling. Right? I'm not going to settle it.
And nobody wants to hear us babble.
No, they don't. Let's talk about the matchups that we have in front of us, Coach. Beginning in Region 6A, because that is the highest classification, you have Ocean Lakes, the 1 at 10-0, hosting Kellum, the 8 seed at 5-5. Oscar Smith's the 2 seed. They'll host Tallwood, the 7. Smith is at 9-1. Impressive performance for Cam Kelly, over 200 yards passing at quarterback for the Tigers. The 4-star committed to the Auburn Tigers. Right now he plays for the Oscar Frommel Smith Tigers, and he's doing a great job. Tallwood's the 7 seed, 6-4. They hold on to beat Bayside 21-19 in a doozy of a ball game I saw. Speaking of Bayside, they're the 5 seed at 6-4, going to the number 4 seed Cox, who's also 6-4. I'm sorry, 8-2. Cox is 8-2 overall. It's a rematch of the opener that Cox won over Bayside. Tavion Robinson did not play in their regular season finale against Lansdowne that they won. He did dress, but he did not play. So I would think Robinson's going to play in the playoffs since he dressed.
And they held him out, so
He's not going to be any worse off. And Kelly's obviously back and looks to be no ill effects from the injury, so that's welcome news for Oscar Smith. And then Woodside, the 3 seed at 8-2, playing host to the 6 seed Lansdowne at 6-4, who eliminated them last year in the second round of the playoffs. Woodside won the opening round matchup in 2016. Who's the favorite going in? I'm thinking it's Oscar Smith despite being a number 2 seed, or do you say it's Ocean Lakes, the 1 seed at undefeated 10-0?
I kind of slide towards Oscar Smith. I hate disrespect Joe Jones and the Ocean Lake people out there, but that's my feel going in. And if they end up playing, which they would be in the championship, then we'll see. But I would kind of say, because Oscar Smith's only losses to a very, very good Indian River.
Yeah, it was in 5.
It was in 5, and they're going to finish the season undefeated.
And they scrimmaged Ocean Lakes, by the way, and if they played a real game, Indian River might have won that. And it's not a disrespect towards Ocean Lakes. They got a great team. They've overcome the injury to Jake Lowe, the running back who's out for the year. Xander Jellick's one of the top passers around, had that big 7-touchdown pass game against Bayside. Tank Land at defensive back has brought a different swagger to that team, and I think a confidence that's permeated through the rest of the ball club. They got some guys in the defensive front with Cameron Williams at linebacker making plays, and offensive line, they got some good blockers. Tyler Stevens is a junior to watch out for them. Miles Austin's developed at wide receiver. Eli Snowden in the backfield. I just look at Oscar Smith, and last year, remember, Smith beat him pretty soundly. My bigger question is, do you see anybody that keeps us from getting Oscar Smith, Ocean Lakes meeting in the region
my
championship?
question to you is going to be, of these matchups, which of the lower seed
We'll ask each
will
other.
have a chance?
Yeah, we'll ask each other. Is there anybody that you would say, and I mentioned this on the 757 at 6, which you can also hear weeknights 6 to 7 on ESPN Radio 94.1 with the guys on Friday, shameless plug, that in high school sports, you've seen this in football, basketball, baseball, that one dominant player can sometimes carry a team through. Cox has that in Robinson if he's healthy and if he's effective. I'm not sure they get out of the first round because that's a tough matchup with Bayside. Bayside has the skill and the athletes. And remember, though Cox won the first game this year rather comfortably, 49-28, Bayside's a different team now. They've won 6 of their last 8 games. They're throwing the ball much better with Tajay Pollard. And more importantly, remember last year in the opener, a lot of those Bayside kids put a whooping on Cox. So there's a little bit of a confidence they can go play with Cox and beat them.
Yeah, I would say Bayside over Cox.
Oh, you would pick that?
I didn't say I'm going to pick it.
Okay.
But we're looking at the lower, who has the best chance of lower seed to knock somebody off. And I'm thinking Bayside. But again, in that 4-5 matchup,
It's a toss-up anyway.
Always a toss-up.
Well, 8-2, 6-4, they beat them comfortably. Woodside Lansdowne intrigues me. I think Lansdowne has one of the best defensive players in the bracket in Tavion Lane, who came in with about 18 sacks on the year from his defensive end spot. Though Tommy Reamond's Eagles got some guys dinged up. I know earlier in the year Jalen Jennings was dinged up, and Chris Price took a pounding in that game against Ocean Lakes. They're a physical defensive team, and they can keep Woodside down in a low-scoring game. The thing that Danny Dodson brought up, and they're missing a key defensive piece in D'Artagnan Davis, as he mentioned. They have a good front four, and they're giving up just about 7-8 points per game in these last 5-6 weeks. So Woodside, I don't think they'll be uncomfortable or fazed by a lower-scoring 14-6, 14-7, 13-10 type of game, which it appears it may be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And they have some options with the quarterback in Tyler Thompson who could run a little bit. Maybe that could be the difference in that game, whose quarterback can make some plays with the mobility. So push comes to shove, you got Oscar Smith winning?
Oscar Smith over Ocean Lakes in the championship.
Now here's the bigger question, moving on to the state picture. You said last week, talking about Westfield winning the state championship, and they had a real impressive performance last week, won against Chantilly to close out a 10-0 season. Longest winning streak in the state belongs to Kyle Simmons' Westfield Bulldogs. 3 consecutive state titles, tons of talent with Noah Kim at quarterback, Eugene Asante at running back, Taylor Moore in the Wake Forest commit at wide receiver, Bazette Woodley, a 6'4 giraffe of a wide receiver, list goes on and on. Are they the favorite over Oscar Smith, or is this team called Manchester with the Notre Dame quarterback commit and Brendan Clark? I've never seen in all my years at a team with a quarterback who has 27 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's the ratio, 27-0 regular season, and he sat out probably half the games because they had huge leads. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and their leads were ridiculous, the points they put on the board. I still think Westfield's the favorite going in, but could you put them down as co-favorites? No, we got to pick one. And I would say Westfield, but now we're counting out Oscar Smith.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and we're not even putting Ocean Lakes in the state tournament because we figure they're going to get beat in the regional championship. So, but I would side, if I got to pick somebody right now, I'm going to go with the more consistency of a Westfield. And
they played some closer games with a Madison who beat Centerville on Friday night, 14-0 on a shutout, finished up 8-2, and they had a 17-15 game with. So how does Manchester react in a close game? Maybe they see Colonial Forge in the regional playoffs, Thomasdale, or say an Oscar Smith in the state semis, because it's unlikely they'll just breeze all the way through the state finals, or will they?
You don't think, because the competition gets stronger as the deeper you get in the playoffs. If you're in a state championship game, it should be your hardest game of the year. But we've seen situations where football 35-7.
Sure.
For the playoffs?
Well, I'm just saying, though, those teams they might have to go through. They might have to go through Thomasdale, right, Colonial Forge, and the winner of an Oscar Smith Ocean Lakes just to see a Westfield or get to the state finals at HU.
So they could be.
One of those games is going to be close, you figure. They're just not going to steamroll all of them. They lost to Forge last year.
Yeah, I don't see them beating people 55-6 in the playoffs. I just don't.
No, I don't either. But I do. I'm going to go with Manchester as the favorite. He's going to take Westfield. So all the Oscar Smith, all the Ocean Lakes fans.
We're jumping out of the 7-5-7. Yeah. Look at that.
And real quickly, Tallwood. I know you're a huge underdog against Oscar Smith. Shout out to Tallwood football, the Booster Club. He gave me a T-shirt. I left it in the other studio. Great swag. Appreciate it, guys.
Which is probably stolen by now.
It has not been stolen unless you gave it to somebody before we came in here.
I can touch your swag stuff.
Thank you, Tallwood. Much love. Appreciate the shout out. Anybody out there wants to give me any non-perishable items, food, swag, that's like T-shirts, I'll wear it. I'll eat it. I'll do whatever you want with it. Well, as long as it's appropriate. On the video show, and give you a shout out.
If it's free, it's me.
That's what he says, and I'll say it too. Why not?
If it's free, it's me.
We're always looking for sponsors too. So if you want to sponsor us, give us a comment, drop us a line. We have some things in the works planned. It's going to be fun in the future. You want to be a part of it. You don't want to miss out on all the fun.
Speaking of giving away T-shirts, we need a sponsor
because
we already have to sponsor our T-shirts. I know you said we need a sponsor.
You want the caricature
because we're going to get the characters on it, and we're going to put your affirmation on the back. It's going to be classic, big seller.
Let's go to. You want to go to 5A or 4A? We know. All right, 5A, Region 5A. Any River's the 1 seed, 10-0. They're probably going to play the Gloucester or Norview in the first round. They beat Norview in the season opener. Either one of them have a chance against the Braves?
No.
All right. So you go. Next question. All right. The 2 seed will either be Maury or Salem. One of them will get either Norview or Gloucester. Could you see Norview or Gloucester beat either Maury or Salem? You're thinking on this now.
I got to think on this one. When the dust settles. Maury.
You think Maury?
I think Maury
wins,
will.
Or Maury can be given a tough game.
Maury gives them the tough game.
You're talking about Indian River.
Yeah, giving Indian River the tough game.
Oh, you're looking past. Okay, you're looking.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that Salem could get a tough draw here first round. I know that their defense is rock solid with Elijah Cheeks and Jeremiah Brown and some of those key components up front, and they got Kellen Black back at running back. They've been using two different quarterbacks in Amari Morrison and Vinnie Murphy, and that's what I'm wondering about. If someone contains that running game and forces them to throw, they get in a low-scoring game. In the Beach this year, it's been kind of a head-scratching year. They lost to Bayside in an overtime game. Salem's had some funky results in there a little bit. They shut out Green Run 28-0, but could a Warwick, with their defense, led by Davon Mead and Tyleek Ray at corner, or a Norview with one of the best rushers in Katron Allen, the freshman, give a Salem a first-round scare, might happen.
I could see him give him a scare.
I'm not sure they beat him, but give him a scare.
Yes.
Have you on the edge of your seat, on your toes there. 4-5 is locked in. The 7-3 Warriors of Nansemond River hosting the 7-3 Warriors of Kecoughtan. Who wins?
Warriors.
Unreal. Which Warriors?
The good ones.
The 7-3 ones?
7-3 one.
The ones wearing red and black or green and white?
Well, I'm going to step out of my talking head role and go with red and black. That's my school.
See that Kecoughtan? He's calling you guys out. Jonathan Melvin and crew, I hope you're ready to come to play to Suffolk. They are the defending region champs.
That's another reason I'm picking them.
Justin Connor's team's defense is playing great lately with Josiah Autry and Datron Branch and Peyton Payne.
The Cobb boy. What's his
Keontae Cobb.
Keontae Cobb.
Yeah, he's playing well. You got Rashad Williams and Kevin Johnson. Those guys, there's some speedsters on the outside. Kecoughtan, I wonder, they've had some injuries here. They had that physical game with Phoebus last weekend or weekend before last. It ended in a little bit of a scuffle. Do they have enough outside of Melvin to win that game would be my concern for Kecoughtan. And can they get a little bit of a passing attack to complement? We saw James Mazzell have that huge return against Heritage on a weekend game, but they're going to need special teams to be special to beat the Warriors because they've been getting some non-offensive touchdowns with their defense and their special teams the last few weeks like crazy. Can Nansemond River give Indian River a second round battle? So you're worried about that first matchup where Indian River won.
Let's get through the Warrior game first.
Get through the Warrior game first.
Warrior game of Warriors.
And they beat them the first time, 42-6 in September in Chesapeake. So they would need the elements to help them get cold, rainy, take away the passing attack with Don Brooks of Indian River, which I don't see. And Indian River Moore, I've been asked that a lot. If those two were to meet, well, Salem might have something to say about that. Salem says, look, our defense can bottle up this Morey offense, and we have a running back in Kellen Black that Morey's going to have to prove they can stop. I would say back, Morey's defense has stepped up and showed it's for real with 5 shutouts. Count 5 shutouts here since giving up 49 to Lake Taylor. The big bad dog, the big dog on the Eastern District block there in Norfolk. So, Nansemond could be a surprise in their bracket. I just have a hard time seeing Indian River end up being knocked out because they've just been so dominant this year. They're at a different gear and level this season as opposed to recent seasons under Golden Fairby.
I agree on that.
The question, though, is state playoff time. Highland Springs. It's funny, we had a caller, our one and only Keith from Smithville, got confused the varsity and JV. The JV's just been absolutely dominating for Highland Springs. Ed, we've been talking about it all year. Those two on pace to see each other in December. Game might be at Indian River. Can that be a factor in that game at all, or do you say no, Highland Springs has been there, done that, it has no bearing on the game?
I don't, win 3 straight titles and have a bearing on that. They take that outfit on the road and can win just as easy.
Okay. And the winner of that would meet, or would get to the state finals at Hampton University if those two were to meet in the state semis. The Region 5A champ, the Region 5B champ.
Well, you would hope that the two best would meet in a regional championship, but once again,
state finals.
State finals, but once again, based on the system that's put out there.
Well, and lately it's been either Stonebridge or Tuscarora coming through from the northern part of the state. Watch out for Broad Run, who beat both of them this year. They have a junior quarterback in Mitch Griffiths, and they have a junior running back in Tim Baldwin. They just beat Stonebridge the other night, Ed, and they've played a 7-5-7 team before in Booker T. Washington, who has some weapons. And they're no slouch. Mitch Griffiths, as I said, going to Wake Forest. But Broad Run beating Stonebridge, holding on the other night to win that game over them. They could be the team that draws a Highland Springs from Indian River. And maybe they're the team we're not talking enough about on a state scale, because if Indian River and Highland Springs meet, that's going to be an emotionally charged heavyweight battle. Could there be some injuries, some guys dinged up? Maybe Broad Run comes out of nowhere and gets to the state final and surprises people. Or am I crazy?
It's not a place where you want injuries. Well, you are crazy.
Okay.
But it's not a place where you want injuries.
Crazy. I'm saying don't sleep on Broad Run. I mean, they're obviously top 3 in the state, but I'm saying I'm telling you, they might be playing the state championship game at Hampton University, and if they're ready to play, they could give us a good ball game there against even one of those two heavyweights in Highland Springs or Indian River.
Right.
I'm going with the Springers, though. I think they're going to win it again. Class 4, Ed, looking at it, Lafayette's the 1 seed. They have Churchill in the 8 seed, 5-5, taking on 9-0 up in Williamsburg. The 4-5 game is War Hill Heritage, a rematch, 7-3. Heritage 5-5. 2-7 is Lake Taylor Smithfield, 9-1, 5-5, a rematch. Lake Taylor trying to avenge last year's loss at Smithfield. Remember, Smithfield had Willie Drew last year. He's now at James Madison University. He was the defensive back and quarterback cornerstone of that team. Big deal not having him. And then Deep Creek, the 3 at 7-3, hosting Kings Fork, the 6 at 5-5. They were the number 1 seed last year. Beat Oscar Smith, snapped that 99-game winning streak. They gave up 49 points. They're known for their 2 stud D tackles in Trayshawn Mitchell and J.R. Hardy, and they come limping in with 4 straight losses.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good for them. But when that dust settles,
you think they're going to get there?
yeah, no, I don't. I think I wouldn't be crazy to say Kings Fork can't beat Deep Creek. I think they can.
Okay.
I really think they can, but once they get past that, are they going to run into
Lake Taylor,
Lake Taylor, I don't think they would beat Lake Taylor.
This seems like the surest, we don't want to say bet, we don't condone that at all, the surest pick of a region final.
Take the chalk.
Lake Taylor Lafayette, which we've not gotten. We've gotten before Indian River Maury in playoff games. We've gotten before Ocean Lakes Oscar Smith, and I think we're all anticipating and wanting to see Lake Taylor Lafayette in the regional final the day after Turkey Day. Gobble, gobble.
I like Turkey Day. I don't like Halloween, but I'll take Turkey Day.
Yeah, I love turkey too. Give me some mashed potatoes, some stuff, and some cranberry. I'm good to go.
Stay focused. Stay focused.
All right. Ed, the rest of the, and I hate to say it this way, this bracket just kind of has whole hum to it. It feels like, get out of the way, you said earlier, Lake Taylor Lafayette, let them go toe-to-toe. And to me, if you look at that matchup now, the thing that's going to be different in this bracket is Lake Taylor's defense looks like it's at another level after shutting down Booker T with Rodney Hammond, who's one of the best backs in the area and the state, a sophomore with over 1,300 yards. They got nowhere in that game against Lake Taylor. I mean, their offense was completely bottled up. First shutout of the year for the Titans.
Right. Yeah, I think Lake Taylor, as I mentioned about Oscar Smith earlier, they are in deep playoff mode. Even though it's the opening round, they are set for a few more weeks ahead.
Is there a defense, and you might say Kings Fork with those 2 stud D tackles in Hardy and Mitchell, is there a defense in that bracket? Did you see even Lafayette's, as good as it is with a couple of standout linebackers in Josh Coley and Trey Kennedy, Christian Wilkerson on the defensive line and others, that can stop Malik Newton? We mentioned it on the show earlier on ESPN Radio 94.1 that he has on the year 1,402 yards and 21 rushing touchdowns. This 10th grader who's averaging 10.2 yards per carry. So we spoke on the defense holding Booker T to a total of 29 yards on 37 plays, limiting Hammond to just 30 yards. But is there a defense that can tackle Malik Newton when he gets a full head of steam, even as good as Lafayette or Kings Fork?
They're going to game plan for him, so he's going to have to face some adversity, and Lake Taylor has to show their other weapons. But I think Lafayette can do something. A Kings Fork, who's been known with their defense, can do something. But it's a matter of taking one thing away, and then a team having 2 and 3 other things ready to go. Can you take these away from us? Because the answer is no. Then, like in 5A with Highland Springs, 5A with Highland Springs winning, okay, I'm going to stop Highland Springs running game. They're going to pass you to death. Well, I'll stop the passing game. They're going to run you to death.
Sure.
Okay, well, their defense can score.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
And keep you from scoring.
Yeah, I mean, their defense might be averaging 21 points a game. They scored 3 touchdowns, But I'm just saying that's something you'd have to watch out for. So I still think, though, in 4A, it's an easy call. Lake Taylor Lafayette championship game.
You ready to give either team an edge yet? And to follow up that, you mentioned taking something away. Jeff Foster, their quarterback's got over 1,000 yards passing, 11 touchdown passes. He's got over 700 yards rushing and 14 rushing scores. And oh, by the way, the wide receiver who got the concussion earlier this year, Javon Harvey, who was once upon a time committed to Old Dominion, he's reopened his recruitment. He made Randy Moss's segment of the day on ESPN. Did you see it? The one-handed catch he had against Wilson. Did you see that?
Everybody getting
They called him Jason Harvey, but it's Javon Harvey. So.
Right. Yeah, it'll take more than the catches to get them past there.
You give either team an edge yet, or you want to wait and reserve?
No, I'm going to reserve that. I know who I'm leaning towards, but I can't divulge that right now.
The most interesting region to me, and of course, 4A is our local teams, but 4B, where you got Eastern View Ed, a 1, Louisa, the 2, Dinwiddie, I believe, is going to be the 3, and Monacan, the 4. That's a loaded bracket. Remember, last year, all 4 of those teams were 11-0 when they met in the second round of the playoffs, and Louisa was the last team standing with the linebacker Brandon Smith committed to Penn State this year. You know Dinwiddie with its tradition under Billy Mills, and they have a dangerous dual-threat quarterback in Kyman Beatty Pope. I kind of like Eastern View, who last week you said was your pick to win the state title with quarterback Matt Lowry leading the way, but they haven't been tested all year. They're going to get tested now with these teams in front of them.
Oh, yeah. They're going to get tested.
You still sticking with Eastern View, or are you having some second thoughts?
Because you always say I waffle a lot. I'm going to stick with them right now, and I might waffle next weekend.
All right, we'll see. And I'm keeping an eye on Sharando out of the Region 4C. Woodgrove's very good, too. And Blacksburg got a 4D. Tyquest Terry, the UVA commit, he's dynamic. A lot of weapons on that team. And Grant Johnston, a prolific quarterback, too. Region 3, and we'll finish up here. We'll have to give you guys in Class 2 and Class 1 some love another time because we're running out of time here, and the video thing only records so many minutes here. Ed Young's got places to go, people to see, and things to do.
Hey, you got to get a bigger camera.
That's so. And somebody's going to get in the studio and record things, so we're holding our guys hostage. Class 3, it's not set yet. The teams we know that are the 8 teams in are, in this order at this moment, Phoebus, Hopewell, Norcom, Parkview, Booker T. Washington, Petersburg, York, and Newton. As we tape this, York and Poquoson still have to play. A collision course, again, of Phoebus, Hopewell. Or do you see the Norcom Greyhounds, who beat Lake Taylor by 20 this year, who only lost to Hopewell this year, 13-0 first game of the year, couldn't get the offense going. They've gotten it going here lately, and beat Hopewell last year. Do you see someone like a Norcom or a Booker T. Washington or somebody else that can keep us from getting Phoebus Hopewell, the rematch of last year's second-round game that Hopewell won at Darling 7-6 and figures to be another low-scoring defensive slugfest?
No, I'm going to go Phoebus and Hopewell in the championship.
Ooh, well, here's what I'll tell you. Much like we said with Class 6 with Cox, they have a dynamic player, a game changer in Tavion Robinson, also some other good weapons there with Leno Lester and Jackson Morgan and Kendall Spriggans coming on now, quarterback and playing some DB. Norcom doesn't have that one stub, but they have a lot of weapons with DeMonte Dunlap at running back, Jacoby Smith throwing it to Karan Prunty and Kason Dixon and Ceylon Lawrence, and then the defensive front has been really strong lately with Torres Jones at linebacker and Antoine Powell-Ryland at DN with offers already from UVA and Va Tech. I think Norcom can give Hopewell a battle, even on the road. They beat them last year on the road. My problem is their first round game with Petersburg, who's much improved with Messiah Scott at quarterback, up to Billy at running back. That's a trap game for Norcom. They can't get caught looking past Petersburg to Hopewell. Petersburg is fully equipped to give them a scare and to the wire. So I'm not ready to go all in on Norcom yet because they got to get out of the first round.
So you feel
if they get Petersburg.
So you don't feel as strong as I do that it's going to be Phoebus and Hopewell in the championship.
I don't feel as strongly. I think they're on a collision course, and right now, here's what's crazy about that. I think Norcom matches up better with Hopewell than you do Phoebus, but I think Hopewell could very well beat Phoebus again. And you picked Phoebus to win the title last week. So
I got Phoebus win the title.
I'm worried about the health of quarterback Chris Daniels. He got the shoulder injury. What's his status going to be throwing the ball to Barry Hargraves and his receivers? That, to me, is going to be a big deal for Phoebus as they go on this playoff journey trying to exact revenge for last year. I know Jeremy Blunt and his team have done a great job of staying focused on the task at hand, and they've been focused all on that rematch, trying to get it with Hopewell and exact what happened last year at home, and we'll see if they get it. They certainly have the defense and a lot of components to do it. So that'll do it for Class 3 in the state. You've been riding me hard all year about my boys out west and Lord Botetourt, who I picked preseason number 1. Took a couple of losses, Ed, but as I look up and I see what Lord Botetourt's been doing, they beat William Fleming 68-26. Northside had a closer game than Lord Botetourt did with William Byrd, 28-14. They've split this year. Lord Botetourt, Northside. Maybe we get a rubber match in Region 3D in the Region Championship. You think that's going to happen? Looks like it will.
Yeah, I'm going to say all the stars point to it.
And then you could, so really the 2 Region Championships, almost to look past 3B, which is going to have potentially here an 0-10 George Wythe team make the playoffs. How do you feel about that?
If the point system that we use dictates it without a win at all, then you do it. But it's very hard to take a 0 and forever team and they're in the playoffs.
Those region championships, are they going to dictate the state championship, or am I not giving Heritage of Lynchburg, who got to the state finals last year, returns that quarterback in Jabari Blake and that strong defense with Vontae Pinnell, am I not giving them enough attention and love?
You could say you're not going to, but I don't know. I just kind of stick with, I'm going with chalk.
You're going with chalk?
Yeah, I'm staying with that.
So the region champs out of 3D and 3A, the winners of those two games will meet in the state finals. They're going to beat 3B and 3C.
Right now, I'm going to say that. But let me waffle next time.
All right. He'll waffle, I'll get my pancakes, ba-ding ding. And that'll do it for this high school sports talk on
Put up with us every week.
November the 3rd. Again, thank you for watching. Shout out Tallwood. Love you guys. I'm not picking to beat Oscar Smith, but I still love you guys.
Right. See that? He'll take the shirt, but yet you're not winning.
I gotta beat
Take
you
the
again.
shirt back.
And thank you, Tallwood. Thank you, Great Bridge. And thank you, Kickotan, Wildcats, Warriors, and Lions. I'm not picking any of you next week, but hey, appreciate it because I was able to overcome my 2-game deficit and beat the coach, Ed Young, by a whisker. He has no more whiskers left, folks.
Oh, got him off, but watch what happens in the playoffs.
We'll do it again on High School Sports Talk Plus. Listen to us every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon on ESPN Radio 94.1. Enjoy your football weekend and go Northwestern. Beat Ed's Notre Dame.
Won't happen.
See you later.